There is nothing that excuses a shooting like this happening in any way, shape, or form. Nobody should have to say that before any type of coverage of this. That's a thing that people are still going to end up doing. It's time to cover it. It's time to cover that thing. I'm going to go ahead and give a content warning. We're going to be talking about the Nashville shooting. I'm going to get that one out of the way first. I feel like this is probably a mistake on my part, but we are going to be talking about that as the first thing today. Now, because of the type of topic that this is one of those ones that I think warrants me skipping the fan art section, so we're not going to be doing that today. But we've got a lot of shit to cover, unfortunately, where this is concerned. Now technically, we're going to be responding to Sean Hannity, who is saying that the left has a repulsive response to the Nashville school shooting. That is the framework we're going to be using, but there's a lot of stuff we've got to talk about over and above that. I should probably go without saying, school shooting's bad. For some reason, there's this thing that has happened with a lot of coverage of this where people are having to start out with the prostrated approach of going, hey, by the way, school shooting bad and none of us condone it. Guys, come on. The default is we don't condone school shootings. That is the default. Should not be very, very difficult for most people to figure out. If anybody decides to come away with the take that somebody somewhere had this shooting coming because of the way that the right has been responding to trans people, then you, as an individual, are an idiot and part of the problem. I'll just go ahead and say that. There is nothing that excuses a shooting like this happening in any way, shape, or form. Nobody should have to say that before any type of coverage of this. That's a thing that people are still going to end up doing. The very first thing most people are going to do when they do a video like this is to try to denounce the shooter, saying that no, not all trans people are like this. They want people to be defensive. They want people to freak out about this, what have you. None of that matters. None of that matters. The fact of the matter is, when we are talking about shootings, the vast majority of them happen when, for one reason or another, young men go and do stupid shit. Not all shooters are men, but the vast majority of them are. And that only matters when we're talking about the fact that when it comes to trans people, we've only got like 3 or 4 mass shooters versus every other shooter in existence, which is what, like 2,900 mass shootings or so? I'd say that trans people are largely underrepresented. I shouldn't have to do the beginning like not all trans people are crazy people who shoot up schools. I shouldn't have to do that because the numbers are staggering and very obviously show that most minority groups don't tend to commit crimes like this, usually. However, right-wing pundits have been very quick, and politicians have been very quick to blame everything from the HRT to a mental health disorder for being trans, like being trans as the mental health disorder. They are quick to grab onto that. When it's a young white man who goes and commits a shooting, the conversation's about mental health. Despite FBI statistics showing, as of 6 years ago, that mental health only played a role in about 3 to 5% of most mass shootings. Can't be an underlying ideology, but the absolute nanosecond that it's a minority, it is the underlying ideology. If the shooter is Muslim, it had to be because of their religion. If the shooter is trans, it had to be because of woke trans ideology. It always ends up being something like that. Always, always, always. Coverage of this shooting is going to be in the news cycle for a while. And you can bet that I'm going to end up having to cover this again from different angles when different speakers have done other stupid shit. We're 5 minutes in and we haven't even gotten to the Sean Hannity video, so I'm hoping that we'll have a little bit more to talk about when we get to that. Why am I having to do all this preamble? Why am I doing this? Because it's important. Quite frankly, honestly, I think it's important. I think it's important to recognize that there's a strategy going forward that will be used by right-wing punditry and will be used by right-wing politicians to use this shooting as a scapegoat to argue for all kinds of bills to ban trans healthcare, bills to ban trans access to weaponry, and oh, yeah, that one's important. We need to talk about that one real quick. The Second Amendment is a fundamental right that every United States citizen has. Minority groups, by and large, as evidenced by the Black Panthers and other organizations that were around during the height of the BLM protests, have shown that when you make sure that the populace is armed, it is harder for the police to bully that populace. If somebody has the tweet and wants to pull up the tweet, they can, but there's a tweet from Tim Pool, who decided to be an absolute idiot on Twitter and make a post talking about how, guys, do you think that people with a history of mental health disorders or people with mental health disorders should have access to firearms? Now, in most circumstances, you might think that this is a reasonable conversation, but his exact tweet went something like, people with a high rate of suicidality, which means that the entire conversation was actually about trans people. And since the conversation was about trans people, we know what he's actually saying. He's being one of the many people that are blaming the transness, treating it like a mental illness, as the reason for shootings like this, and arguing that, oh, well, it would just be better for everybody if trans people couldn't be harmed or couldn't be armed. When you disarm trans people, when you prevent them from being able to protect themselves, you increase the rate of violence against trans people. Most Second Amendment absolutionists would understand that we're talking about literally anybody else, but the idea here from punditry and politicians alike is to disarm trans people, because there is an ongoing genocide of trans people happening in the United States. We are inarguably in the early stages, first four, and arguably up for debate. We've been skittering around the next 4 stages. By the way, stage 9 is the actual extermination. We've done several videos on that. Please look at the 10 stages of genocide from the Holocaust Museum, and you can put 2 and 2 together yourself. Disarming a minority of the population does make it infinitely easier to genocide that minority. None of this is not connected in some way. I'm not saying that the shooting is connected to all of these events. That would be conspiratorial and tinfoil hatty. But the rhetoric about disarming trans people and the steps that have been taken to slowly push them to the fringes of society, potentially even wipe them out of society, the steps that have been taken towards that, they coincide very much with the attempts to disarm them. Just saying. Historically, that tends to be how this works out. Anyway, now that I've given all of that terrible preamble and we've made an entire video in and of itself, let's go over Sean Hannity.
Because this was a Christian school targeted by a transgender killer.
Right. So note here that the shooter's transness is the very first thing that Sean talks about. Not the fact that this is a person with a disgustingly warped ideology that we don't know because the manifesto has not been released yet at time of recording. Not that this was a terrible tragedy, not any of that. No, the very first thing that is noted is the person is trans. I need to remind you, since 2014, there have only been about 4 people who were trans involved in incidents like this as the shooter. And yet, the transness is brought in full center. And of those 4, one of them turned out wasn't actually trans. One of them, in a court of law, was shown to have not actually been trans in the first place. If we did the same thing, if we made certain that this white, cisgender male, if we did that every single time that somebody went on one of these fucking rampages, when that is the populace that is most overrepresented in mass shootings, then we would be called crazy people. We would be called idiots. We would be called people that were trying to target a group. But when the right does it against trans people, it's reasonable, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and continue here.
Thoughtful, heartfelt remarks from Democrats and the media mob, they have been few and they have been far between. Some are actually mocking the victims. Take a look at your screen. Now, the now former press secretary for Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs posted that tweet after the shooting with the caption, quote, "Us when we see transphobes."
All right, so here's the question. Is this tweet in direct response to the shooting? Is there any way to know that? Is there any way to figure that part out? Hold on. Let's see here. So the Nashville shooting took place on... Let's see here. What we know, 3 adult staff members were killed. The victims were identified. I'm not going to say the names here. Age 9, age 61, 61, and 60. Let's see here. The victims appear to have been chosen at random. The police chief said that they strongly believe other targets were possible. Let's see here. They have a manifesto. They have some writings that they're going over that pertain to this date. Investigators have not determined a specific motive. Hale was being treated by a doctor for an emotional disorder. In response to reporters' question, police confirmed Hale identified as transgender, but provided no further details in it at a press conference. It's almost like there's not a whole lot of information on that, and yet it's all been used there. But that was 3 days ago, and of course, it is the 31st, but it would have been the 30th just a few hours ago. So, yeah, these would have been happening on the same date. That does not necessarily mean that this is a direct response to that. And I think it's a bit tinfoil hatty to say that there are, people who are legitimately cheering on this. Well, rather, people in prominence. There are people who will cheer this on because there are always people who will cheer on mass shootings because they're idiotic. But anything to make a story sound better, right, Sean?
Okay. She has now since resigned in disgrace, but has offered no apology. Now, sadly, the vitriol didn't stop there.
Well, of course, there's not really an apology to offer if there's no proof that this was done specifically because of that. It could have been, it could have not been. I don't know.
Awful progressive talk show host, quote, joking about the victims not praying enough. That's supposed to be funny?
So here's the thing, Sean. That is a very, very edgy meme. And I can agree that it's not very funny. But the fact of the matter is, we are told repeatedly that thoughts and prayers are the thing to rely on, as opposed to actually doing anything to fix the gun problem in the United States. This is the type of joke you should be expecting when you run the gamut for people who don't want any of the gun problems in the United States to ever be fixed. Is it an edgy joke? Yes. Is it in poor taste? Yes. Is this the exact type of thing that Fox News will do on the daily all the time? Yes. Nobody is trying to say that this is something that should be funny. It's not funny, and that's probably the fucking point.
I thought attacking one's personal religious beliefs was not allowed in the leftist woke world we live in. Now, meanwhile...
Wait, what? When was that ever said?
A trans activist from Harvard, a law implying that the victims got what was coming to them because of Tennessee's laws against so-called gender-affirming care and drag shows.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Let's read the tweet as it's written. Thank God Tennessee protected the children from the so-called horrors of drag and gender-affirming care so they could be shot up at school by an AR-15 instead. What part of that is saying that they got what was coming to them? What part of that tweet implies that? Also, I love that the very first thing this person is known for is a transgender activist. Again, I told you before we actually got into the Sean Hannity bits, the entire point would be to signal that the transness of the shooter was very, very, very important, and you should very, very, very much focus on it. If I were to read this tweet in good faith, It would be me looking at it and going, you know, you guys focus really hard on these things that don't actually hurt kids, but the number one killer of kids in the United States now is gun violence, and you don't seem to be doing a whole lot to handle that. Has nothing to do with people deserving to be shot, but go ahead, read into it just the worst, most bad faith version of it you possibly can, Sean. It's all for the views, right?
NBC News, they touted the true victims from Monday night shooting, quote, Tennessee's trans community, who are now fearing for their lives.
Wait, who says, wait, hold on. But the quote you have on here isn't saying that the true victims are those kids. Wait, what? That's not what that says. That tweet says, fear pervades Tennessee's trans community amid focus on the Nashville shooter's gender identity. That's just an angle of the story. An angle of this story is that there's a lot of focus from the right-wing punditry about the transness of the shooter, which will lead to an increase in violence and will lead to an increase in retaliation against the trans community. That's just stating a fact. That's literally just stating a fact. There's nothing about that that's saying, well, the real victims of this aren't the people that died, but the trans community. No, this is saying that more victims will be made as a result of this. That this has nothing to do with whatever fucking spin you're trying to put on there.
Amid a focus on the Nashville shooter's gender identity. Now, predictably, other Democrats, they're using this as a political opportunity to ban guns, blame Republicans, very predictable.
I mean, yes, because Republicans are the ones who have been bought by the gun lobby in the United States. And therefore, blaming the Republicans who have been bought by the gun lobby makes sense when the guns are the problem 99% of the time. Easy access to guns, not enough regulation around guns. Now, I could say that, hey guys, maybe, just maybe, it's something else. Maybe it's ideologically driven, maybe it's 1,000 things. But you can have the most angry person subscribing to the worst ideology, but if you take away their tools, they don't really have a whole lot they can do with it. Oh, sure, they could go commit a mass stabbing, but that's not going to have the same impact as a mass shooting. Oh, sure, they could construct an explosive device and use that, but by and large, that's not what happens more often than not. Here in America, more often than not, it is just guns. As somebody who owns guns, I don't necessarily want mine to be taken away, but I would like to see better regulation on those guns. That would be helpful. I don't know, it's almost like other steel death machines require licensing and require keeping your paperwork up to date in order to even own them. But we call those cars, so it's different.
Far-left teachers union president Randy Weingarten calling on the federal government to confiscate guns like Australia, New Zealand. Maybe, Randy, if you're watching, maybe why don't you focus on the disaster that you helped create, that is our educational system. In large part, it is failing because of the unholy political alliance that you have with the teachers' unions and the Democratic Party.
So maybe you could be specific about that, Sean. Maybe if we're going to actually do this whataboutism. By the way, this is a fallacy. This is Tukokwe. This is whataboutism. But as I've seen, there are people who go like, Suris just points out fallacies and doesn't explain why something's wrong. I'm very important on the internet. Don't worry, don't worry. I've read your comments. I've chuckled at you while taking a shit. So now let's go ahead and talk about teachers' unions. Teachers' unions are important because teachers are generally not paid enough for the fucking job they do and the hours they put in, and largely have to pay for their own school supplies anyway. They're not really a... It is a position that is paid better than some, but not enough for what it does. Unions are helpful in protecting them for that and making sure that they can keep things like their fucking pensions. But if you want to say unholy alliance with the Democrats, my guy, the education system keeps on being pulled down by Republican policies, especially policies here recently that have been trying to force, I don't know, what was it, in Texas and in Arkansas, I believe, where young earth creationism is constantly attempted to be shoved into the education system. I'm not saying Democrats are perfect. They're not. They've got a bunch of problems they need to deal with, like, I don't know, their own inability to do more than pussyfoot around the fucking gun issue. Their own inability to do things like keep Roe v. Wade in, their own inability to do things like actually protect minority groups and anything other than words. I've got a lot of criticisms for the Democratic Party, but the thing is that I'm willing to actually say what those criticisms are. I'm willing to say when the Democrats are trying to spend a lot of time reaching bipartisan answers to solutions to fucking stop. Because the Republicans aren't looking for bipartisan answers on issues, so neither should you. Stop playing by the fairness game. Going high when they go low doesn't actually work. It just means the opponent has access to more tools than you do. We are a far too politically divided nation for that. But I'm willing to say that, as opposed to just kind of doing the, well, what about Democrats and what they do with the education system? I have a question. What does the education system have to do with a mass shooting? Can you please tell me where in the myriad of literature that we read in the United States it says, pick up the AR-15 and shoot your fellow man? I don't know where it says that. But sure, let's go ahead and blame the education system. An education system that, by the way, is incredibly underfunded and underappreciated and needs to be overhauled in a lot of ways. We can agree on that, Sean, but I don't think we would agree on your methods. Necrophage, thank you very much for the tier 3 subscription. That is very, very generous. I would prostrate myself more if we weren't talking about one of the worst things in the entire fucking world.
And meanwhile, Joe Biden, he doesn't seem to care about the shooting at all. Now watch this. This should anger every single American, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, doesn't matter.
I love that he tells us which emotion to feel before he plays the clip, just to make sure we're primed and prepped in case it doesn't land.
He's beginning his speech Monday. He's coming out to talk about the shooting. We have 6 dead people. 3 of them are 9 years old. Here's your president.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
So wait, is this his speech on the shooting? Is this specifically his speech on the shooting? Is this the things he says on that? Because, like, I feel like maybe, just maybe.
Before I begin to speak, the reason I spent a little time in the kids, I just want to speak very briefly about the school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee.
Because it feels like this is him talking about the shooting.
Ben and I have been doing this our whole careers, it seems. And it's just, it's sick. You know, we're still gathering the facts of what happened and why. And we do know that as of now, there are a number of people who did not make it, including children. It's heartbreaking, a family's worst nightmare. And I want to commend the police who responded incredibly swiftly, within minutes.
So we could continue the video, but obviously here he's literally talking about the incident. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a little stupid. Maybe. But opening up with conversation about the ice cream stuff. Also, Alana, it is the same room, I believe, and he's wearing the same clothes. He's wearing the same tie, the same shirt, all that shit. None of that matters. What matters is opening up with a joke to try to bring some levity to a situation is not the worst thing in the world you could do. It's not. Do we need to specifically, when we're going over this, when we're going over a tragedy, is there a specific code of conduct we need to always adhere to make sure that everything is done in just the right, awesome, somber tone? When I see fucking morons go into my comment section and tell me that, oh, you talked about somebody who died and you were in a Sonic onesie. And? Did the words I say change meaning in some particular way? Is this significantly different than the VTuber model I use for every video? No matter what, if somebody has something that they do not like about you, they will bleed that into their criticism for everything you do. So, Sean, saying like every American needs to be angry that Joe Biden began his speech by talking about ice cream. I'm sorry, I just don't get it. I just don't.
I came down for the ice cream, telling jokes. Now, following the remarks, Biden continued to joke and laugh when asked about the shooting. Take a look.
Do you believe that Christians were targeted in a Nashville school shooting? Do you believe that Christians were targeted? I have no idea. Josh Hawley believes they were. What do you say to that? Well, I probably don't then. Probably don't. No, I'm joking. No, I have no idea.
Okay, so he gave you a straight answer, and then when he gave you a straight answer, you continued to press him, and then he tried to just deflect you. That makes you mad? I'm sorry, but this feels like just trying to find another reason to go like Biden bad. We've got real reasons to say Biden's bad. Like real things he's not doing that he should be doing. Things like, oh, I don't know, trying to fix our broken Supreme Court system. And he's just pussyfooting around that. These are actual things he's doing, not, oh, he said a joke once and I didn't like it. This is the equivalent of people who actually get mad about Donald Trump and his mean tweets and aren't talking about the fact that he's stoking an ideology and a cult under him. When they just talk about the mean things he says, which is what's happening here with Biden, the right laughs at you. But the minute that they talk about, oh, well, Biden joked about a thing, we're supposed to take that seriously? I'm sorry, I just don't. It just doesn't track with me. It just doesn't.
I'm joking, for real. I'm joking. Come on, man. Anyway, 6 people, innocent people, including 3 9-year-old kids murdered at this Christian school, targeted by a transgender killer. And that is what? That's his response? Joke time? Ice cream time? Seriously? Look.
I like how he ignores the actual parts where Joe Biden talked about the shooting. Like he skipped over those.
If Democrats can't use a shooting for political gain, they don't really seem to care about shootings. Let me give you an example. You know, Exhibit A.
Sean, I feel like maybe that's because there's more shootings in America than there are days in the year right now. We've had more school shootings. Like we've had multiple school shootings per day, or multiple mass shootings per day. As a result of the multiple mass shootings we've had per day, there's no fucking way anybody can keep up with all of it. None. But you know, go on, Queen.
Is there deafening silence on the daily violence in Chicago and other big cities all across the country? Our friend Gianno Caldwell, my colleague, he lost his little brother in Chicago.
Well, I'm terribly sorry about your friend who lost his little brother. Do you want the entire Democratic Party to talk about that? Guys, why didn't they talk about personally my grandpa who died of a thing? Why didn't they personally talk about him and say his name? No, probably because there's just too much shit. There's way too much shit. Also, he's bringing up Chicago specifically because Chicago is a Chicago is a city that has various laws on guns, bans a large variety of them, and yet still experiences some of the highest rates of shootings in it, because it turns out when you have easy access to firearms outside of the city, illegally importing them into the city is as easy as driving into the city with the thing in your trunk. Yeah, Chicago's a dog whistle. It's a way to be like, hey guys, look at this one city that has gun laws and yet gun violence happens in it. Gun laws don't work. Now let's ignore every other country where gun laws happen and gun violence doesn't really happen in those countries to the same extent as it does here in the States, even per capita. Let's ignore all of that actual data. None of that's important. We're not going to continue with the Sean Hannity video. You kind of get the idea here. The strategy that the right is going to use here with the shooting is they are going to do everything in their power, to deflect, to show that, guys, don't worry, the left is actually the bad guys. They're still the bad guys. They're definitely the bad guys. They're going to talk about the transness of the mass shooter more than they're going to talk about anything else. They're going to talk about the LGBTQ and how it's indoctrinating your kids and how that's the biggest threat to America before they ever talk about gun violence being caused with, I don't know, guns. You know, the thing that the shooting is done with. It's a gross strategy. Here's the problem. It's an effective one. Right now, every person who's watching this video probably has some family member that is tuned into Sean right now, or Fox News in general, and that family member probably believes that some trans illness caused the shooting in Nashville. Now, they've ignored the other 151 shootings that have happened in the United States at time of me saying this. That number is going to increase by the time this video goes out, because that's just how shootings work in the United States. They're endemic to our society for some fucking reason. They'll ignore all of those to focus on this one. I guarantee you, this shooting is going to be in the news cycle, and the different angles of it are going to be poked, prodded, and beat to death. Far more than things like the Club Q shooting were. And the NIFB was all over the Club Q shooting so that they could do their Make America Straight Again campaign. That was very important to them. But we're going to be seeing more and more and more about Aubrey Hale and this shooting until Republicans and the people who fund them think that they can't get any more out of the cow they're trying to milk. It's been noted, Axolotl Kareem says, I had to hear an hour of it in the car. Of course! Because the punditry is literally tying the transness of the shooter together with the actual shooting. We don't know what the ideology of the shooter was. We don't know what the motivations were. We don't know any of that shit at time of recording. The manifesto hasn't been let out. And even if the manifesto says that, hey, I wanted to kill all of the Christians who persecuted me because I am trans, even if that is what it says, it's still not the transness that caused it. At that point, there's a whole other can of worms that needs to be addressed about how our society's ability to atomize and isolate and hurt its own people leads to them becoming hurt people, who go on to hurt more people. How we need better support structures for our society. It's not a mental health thing all the time. It's not that somebody has a mental illness and therefore they're going to go on a rampage. All that does is stigmatize people with mental illness. We are back-asswards when it comes to building communities. We would rather atomize people. And we would rather fight tooth and nail as a society to keep guns here as they are. No regulations in comparison to what Democrats have been trying to push for. There are some regulations that I think are dumb, like, bump stocks. I'm sorry, I don't see what that changes or helps. But at the end of the day, Republicans are going to fight tooth and nail to make sure the status quo can be maintained. Because a world where shootings happen more times than there are days in the United States is a world that most Republicans are actually fine with, because they get to do the thoughts and prayers, rinse and repeat cycle of things. Democrats, for their flaws, are trying to find a way to break that cycle. But I think the takeaway from this is that the biggest thing Republicans could win out of this is some kind of red flag law that comes out that makes it to where trans people cannot stay armed. Because the minute that it is illegal for trans people to arm themselves, that's when things start getting worse. I'm of the opinion that we're never going to hit stage 9 in the stages of genocide. I am of the opinion that we will never hit the point where the death camps and all of that shit are happening. I'm of the opinion that will never happen in the States. Because I am unfortunately of the opinion that the world in which Republicans can poke, prod, torture, and do everything under the sun to trans people that makes their lives worse, while being able to sit behind the veil of plausible deniability, is the goal. I could be wrong, and I sincerely hope I'm not, because if I'm wrong, that means things have gotten infinitely worse. But I'm of the opinion that if World War II taught us anything, the Republican Party, by and large, understands that pushing things to stage 9, which is the final step of genocide, pushing us to that stage, puts a target on their back. But plausible deniability is able to be had at every other stage. Sakura says they might not use death camps directly, but they're probably going to do things that are effectively the same. They'll deny you health care. They'll make it impossible for you to exist publicly. They'll make it to where the closet is the safest place you can be. But they'll turn your families against you. But the outright camps and shit like that, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think situations like this that Sean Hannity is going over are evidence that the strategy going forward is going to continue to be toe that line for as long as possible. Never declare full war. Never say eliminate trans people. Always say eliminate transgenderism. Treat it like an idea that can be fought like terrorism. And then just oppress the people who seem to subscribe to the ideology you've created for them. And Macon, I think the words that you just said, as terrible as they are probably the exact thing that's going to happen. They will smother you in the closet. Trans suicide rates are what they are, not by accident. And they're going to keep it that way. Yes, the shooting is a tragedy. Yes, the shooting is something that we need to make sure people obviously fucking know this is not what being trans is about. Duh! But the Republican strategy going forward is going to be use events like this to turn the populace against trans people. They're going to constantly try to make this about trans people. They will deflect, and they will do everything in their power to keep that as the case. The stupidest thing you can do, though, in any of this, is to naively believe that this lovely skill set of towing the line and torturing the minority group with the line they're towing will stop at trans people. It won't. Because it never does. Make sure you are armed. Make sure your loved ones are safe. Make sure that you have a plan in place in case you do have to protect yourself in the closet. Do not go and enact violence. Do not go and try to do a trans day of vengeance or any stupid shit like that. Don't do that. Keep your loved ones near you. Do everything in your power to be happy. The easiest way to fuck with these people is to be trans or gay or atheistic and be happy. When you are scared and huddling up and doing everything in your power to not exist as yourself, that's the thing that makes them win. That's the world they want, where they can keep pushing trans people into the gutters the same way they push the homeless population into the gutters so that they don't have to see them in the streets. The easiest way to win is to just be you and be happy. Surround yourself with people who love you and who you love. Because it's in that world that this type of evil ideology of oppressing minority groups fails. And for God's sake, when it comes time to vote, fucking vote! That's all. That's all. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, insert end of video tagline here.